My name is Margaret Thompson. I was born in a small town in Virginia, where the morning air carried the sweet scent of pine trees, and the evenings echoed with the songs of birds painting melodies across the sky. Today, I sit alone in a quiet house in that very same town. I am 72 years old now. Every wrinkle on my face tells a story of love, of companionship, and of memories that have now turned into whispers of the past. My husband was a kind, gentle, and loving man. He used to teach children at the local school. I often said, God has blessed me with the most precious gift, my husband. Together, we built a life full of warmth and hope, small dreams, big love, and countless prayers. Time used to fly when I was with him. Just seeing me smile would wash away all his worries. And in those moments, I felt like the happiest woman in the world. Then, God blessed us with 3 beautiful gifts, our 3 children. First, our son William, then our second son Daniel, and finally, our daughter Sarah. My home was filled with their laughter. My mornings began with their playful noise, and my nights ended with their joyful giggles. My whole life revolved around them, their meals, their studies, their dreams. They became the very purpose of my existence. My husband used to say, Margaret, without you, this house feels incomplete. You are the soul of this home. And I would smile and reply, and you are the breath of that soul. Life was moving like a beautiful prayer, but perhaps some words of a prayer fade away with time. One day, my husband fell ill. At first, we thought it was just a common cough. Then came the fatigue, and then the doctors said he had cancer. I felt my heart crumble inside me. I closed every door of my soul and prayed, Oh God, please don't take away the father of my children from me. But some prayers are not meant to be heard. My husband lay on the bed, looking at me. There was calmness on his face, but fear in his eyes. I held his hand tightly, and he whispered softly, You are strong, Margaret. Live for our children after I'm gone. Never let them drift apart. With tears in my eyes, I promised him, I will take care of everything. And then, those eyes, the ones that were my entire world, closed forever. My husband was gone, and I was left all alone. After that, I dedicated my entire life to my children. My eldest son, always serious and focused, soon went off to university. My younger son, mischievous yet soft-hearted, would often say, Mom, how will you live without me? And my daughter, the closest to me, was the very center of my happiness. I worked day and night for them, educated them, helped them achieve their dreams, and arranged their marriages. When both of my sons got married, I thanked God that my children had settled homes, but I didn't know, sometimes, settled homes can leave a mother's heart completely empty. My eldest son was happy with his wife, and so was my younger one. In the beginning, they both cared for me deeply, but slowly, things began to change. My daughters-in-law, whom I loved like my own daughters, started getting irritated by everything I said. They would say things like, You don't understand the modern world, or this isn't your time anymore. I would smile and stay quiet, but inside, something would break each time. I often thought, if only my husband were alive, I could tell him everything. At night, I would sit before his photograph and whisper, Everything has changed since you left. No one seems to understand me anymore. One night, I heard voices coming from the kitchen. Both my daughters-in-law were talking. One said, She always interferes in our matters. It's time we talk to William and Daniel about it. And in that moment, my heart felt as if it had stopped beating. The night had already spread its darkness. My body was weak, but my spirit was still strong. I sat quietly by the door of my home. The cool evening breeze gently played with my white hair. In front of me stood an old wooden chair, the same chair where my husband used to sit. I looked up at the sky and whispered softly, If only you were here today, you'd see what life has turned me into. I remember when we were young. Our house was small, but it overflowed with happiness. My husband used to go out early, in the morning, to the fields, and when he returned in the evening, drenched in sweat, he'd smile and say, Well, once again, fortune has given us enough for 2 meals today. I would wipe the dirt from his hands and say, Where do honest men like you exist anymore? And he would laugh and reply, Honesty makes life harder, but it gives peace like nothing else. My eldest son was little back then, but very wise for his age. He followed in his father's footsteps. Every evening, when my husband came home exhausted, my eldest son would run to him and start massaging his feet. Dad, how much did you work in the fields today? And my husband would lift him onto his shoulders and laugh. just enough to pay for your school books, my little soldier." My younger son was just learning to walk in those days. He was mischievous. He'd fall, laugh, and run again. His laughter filled our home with life. And my daughter, she was always quiet, gentle-hearted, and full of empathy. She would cry over the smallest things but always reached out to comfort others. She often said, "Mom, when I grow up, I'll heal everyone's pain." And I would smile and reply, "My daughter, you truly are like an angel." But time has the hardest hands. After my husband's death, the courtyard of my home fell silent. The chair in the corner, his chair, still sits there, untouched, as if any moment he might walk through the door, smile, and say, "Emily, is the tea ready?" I clean that chair every single day, as if he might come back to sit in it. It's a habit I can't break. Perhaps I never will. My eldest son, he's become very busy now. He says, "Mom, I just don't have time." I smile back at him, but inside, it feels as though a nail pierces my heart. My youngest son lives with his wife. He visits sometimes, just for a moment. He asks, "Mom, do you need anything?" And before I can even answer properly, he's already gone. My daughters-in-law, neither of them seem particularly happy with me. They often say, "Mom, you should rest now, we'll handle everything." But their tone, it lacks the tenderness a mother longs to hear from her son's wife. Whenever they come into the kitchen, I quietly move aside, afraid they might say, "Mother, please, let us live our own lives now." My daughter, she's my only light. She visits me every week, holds my hands and says, "Mom, you're not alone." And when she comes, for those few hours, I feel alive again. She rests her head in my lap, just like she used to when she was a little girl, and whispers, "Mom, pray that I always stay happy." I smile, but tears quietly fill my eyes. Often, late at night, when everyone is asleep, I lie on my bed and talk to my husband's memories. I whisper, "Do you see? Your children have grown up, but they're not the same anymore." I can't scold them. I can't hold them close. I just watch them from afar. Sometimes, I take out my son's childhood clothes, that tiny sweater I once knitted with my own hands. I press it against my chest, and a voice deep inside me sighs, if only time had stopped right there. One day, my younger son and his wife had a terrible argument. It felt as though the very walls of the house were screaming. I sat quietly, listening, until my name came up. My daughter-in-law said, "As long as Mother is here, there will never be peace in this house." I didn't say a word. I just looked at my husband's photograph and whispered in my heart, "Everything changed after you left." The next morning, my son came to me. His eyes were downcast. He said softly, "Mom, maybe you should stay at my sister's house for a while, just until things calm down here." I looked at his face, the same face that once held my finger as a little boy on his way to school, and now, that same face was asking me to leave my own home. I nodded quietly, without saying a word. I opened the wardrobe, took out my husband's old photograph, and whispered in my heart, "See, today you're Emily. Your Emily is completely alone without you." When my daughter came over, I didn't tell her the truth. I just said, "Sweetheart, I think I'll stay with you for a few days." She immediately replied, "Mom, this is your home too." I smiled and said softly, "Yes, perhaps this is the only place left that still feels like mine." When I arrived at my daughter's home, the air carried a familiar scent, the kind that quietly soothes the heart. She held my trembling hand gently and said, "Mom, you don't have to worry about anything anymore." I smiled faintly, placed my wrinkled hand over hers, and whispered, "My dear, worry is a mother's ornament. How can I ever take it off?" When I saw her children, my grandchildren, it felt as if my heart began to beat again. I hugged them tightly, and for a moment, it seemed like time had gently turned backward. In their faces, I saw my son's childhood, the same smiles, the same mischief. That night, after everyone had gone to sleep, I sat under the dim roof light, holding that old photograph, my husband's picture. Softly, I spoke to it. "See, life goes on, even without you. But sometimes, I wish I could just hear your voice once more." My daughter overheard me. She came closer, placed her hand on my shoulder, and said, "Mom, you're not alone anymore." I smiled and replied, "No one is truly alone when their heart still holds love." Sometimes, she takes me to the park. There, I see women my age, some reading quietly on a bench, some sitting still, lost in memories of the ones they loved. And I think to myself, life is such a strange thing in our youth. We live for love, and in old age, We live for memories. It's been so long since my eldest son called. The younger one just sends a short message. Sometimes, Mom, how are you? And I always reply the same way. I'm fine, my son. May God keep you happy. But the truth is, a mother is never truly fine when her children are far away. One day, my daughter said, Mom, I'm making a small room for you. We'll keep all your things there. Your old books, Dad's photo, and that little lamp you always keep lit. I smiled and said, My dear, you've just lit up my heart. When the room was ready, I sat there quietly, looking at my husband's picture, and I whispered, See, your daughter has built Emily's home again. Sometimes, I close my eyes and drift into old memories. Our wedding day, that first gift, that first glance, everything still lives somewhere deep inside my heart. I smile, but my eyes grow moist. With time, my steps have weakened, but my heart it's still just as strong. A mother's heart never grows old, even when her body does. And to everyone listening, if your parents are still alive, give them your time, not your excuses. Hold them close, look into their eyes, and tell them softly, Mom, now I'm your strength. If this story touched your heart, then like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment below, I love my mom, and share this story with your friends, so they too can understand a mother is not just a bond, she is a blessing sent by God. I was living at my daughter's home, a place where every breath felt peaceful, and every moment was filled with love. My grandchildren would run around me, laughing, playing, their joy lighting up the house. Watching them, I often thought, maybe life has finally started to get better. But happiness never stays for long. One day, my daughter started feeling unwell. I said softly, My dear, you should see a doctor. Don't overwork yourself. She smiled and replied, Mom, don't worry, it's just a little fever. But it wasn't just a little fever. Days passed, and her condition worsened. At night, I would sit beside her bed, place my trembling hand on her forehead, and whisper prayers. Oh God, it would have been better if you had taken me instead. And then, one day, that moment came. My ears heard her final breath. I held her face gently in my hands, and she whispered weakly, Mom, please pray that I can still remember you. Even there, then, she fell silent. Darkness filled my eyes. My hands began to shake. All I could whisper was, My daughter, you've taken my heart with you. After that day, my world stood still. The house fell into silence. The faces of my grandchildren carried questions, but I had no answers left to give. A few days later, my eldest son came to me and said, Mom, come live with us now. You can't stay alone anymore. I quietly agreed and went with him. In my heart, I thought, maybe my sons have changed. Maybe peace will finally find me. But peace only comes to the fortunate ones. As soon as my daughter-in-law saw me, a faint look of discomfort appeared on her face. She said politely, Mother, now you should rest. We'll take care of everything. But her tone didn't carry warmth. It carried weight, the kind that makes a mother's heart ache. For a few days, things seemed fine. Then came the little complaints. Mom, why did you put this here? Mom, your room isn't tidy enough. Mom, you should rest now, not interfere. I listened silently every day, swallowing my words, remembering my late husband's face. At night, I would sit before his picture and whisper, After you, the house is still the same, but the heart that filled it is gone. One day, an argument broke out between my two daughters. Their voices echoed through the entire house, and in the end, the blame fell on me. It's all because of Mom. My sons stood there, silent. One looked away, the other closed his eyes. I just said quietly, My sons, I never wanted to be a burden. I'll go wherever you want me to. A few days later, my younger son came and said, Mom, we've found a nice place for you. People your age live there. You'll have peace, care, and company. I smiled faintly and said, Yes, my son, perhaps peace really does live there now. They helped me into the car. The road was long. I kept looking out the window, the same trees, the same sky. But today, something felt different. Maybe because, for the first time, I was leaving my home. When I arrived at that place, an old age home, I saw many women like me sitting in silence, some on chairs, some on beds, and some sitting alone, lost in their memories. They walked me inside, signed a few papers, and said, Mom, we'll come back soon. But I knew they wouldn't. I just raised my hands and prayed, May God bless you, my children. Then I sat down on a chair. In my lap was the same old photograph, my husband's. I whispered to it, Look, Your Emily is still keeping her promise. The only difference is, now I'm waiting, not for you, but for death. Time passed slowly. Every evening, I would sit by the window, watching the sun go down. That sunset always looked like his face, peaceful, yet filled with pain and goodbye. Sometimes a nurse would come and ask, "Grandma, do you need anything?" I would smile and say, "No, dear, I just need a little more time, the old kind of time." And then one night, when everyone was asleep, I held his picture to my chest, closed my eyes, and softly whispered, "I'm coming." Maybe he came to take me himself, because that night, I didn't feel any pain, only peace, as if someone whispered, "You're not alone anymore, Emily." This story is dedicated to all the mothers who spend their entire lives bringing happiness to others, and in the end, find themselves alone. If your parents are still alive, seek paradise beneath their feet. Give them your time, not just your words. Hold them close, and promise they will never be alone. If this story touched your heart, like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment, "I love my mother," and share it, so maybe someone's heart softens, and no mother feels lonely again. Parents are the shade that protects you from life's harsh sunlight, even if they burn themselves to do it. Time moves on, but without them, a house is just walls, not a home. Those parents who fulfilled every wish of your childhood only ask for one thing in their old age: love and presence. If your parents are still alive, thank God, kiss their hands, talk to them, because one day they'll fall silent, and there will be no one left to hear your voice. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends so everyone can understand that aging parents are not a burden, they are a blessing. Spread love, because, in the end, love is all that remains.